Hi, everybody. This is Chelsea, the dietitian, and it is support group time. Hope y'all are having a good week so far. Today, we are going to talk about how to get support from your support system and kind of avoiding sabotage. So, making the commitment to lose weight and improve your health can be really, really challenging. And sometimes it can kind of feel like other people in your life are sabotaging your efforts a little bit, which is super normal. While, it can kind of be challenging because we cannot change what other people do. We can control our own behaviors, right? So there's some things that you can try when you're feeling like you're not really getting the support that you need to be able to kind of voice that in a positive way. So, the first thing that's really important is to figure out how to communicate clearly. And that's not always super easy, especially when emotions are involved. So, when you're sharing your goals with other people, that can make you feel really, really vulnerable. And it has also, though, the potential to bring you a lot closer to them. So explain why losing weight is important to you. Some of the ways that you're currently working on those goals for yourself, and maybe what's holding you back currently. Stress how much you would appreciate their help and their support, and kind of define what that support looks like, right? I think it's so important that we remember that people can't read our minds. So, unless we ask, they may not understand or know what we're needing from them to help you feel supported along your weight loss journey. You want to be sure that you're also reinforcing your relationships. Reassure your family and friends that your lifestyle change is not going to affect the relationship, and stress to them how important they are to you. Some people can feel kind of threatened by change, and the uncertainty of kind of how it might change the relationship dynamics amongst you. So reassure them that you'll continue to pour into the relationship as well so that they feel comfortable, because they may be having some reservations about the changes that are going to be happening as well. Remind yourself too that you're in charge, right? Take each situation that comes up as an opportunity to kind of prove your strength to yourself. You're in charge of your own choices, you're in charge of your own goals. People can make those choices harder for you, yes, but they cannot make the choice for you, right? Only we can control that. One thing that I talk a lot about in initial visits with patients is controlling the controllables. Because when we spend so much time and effort trying to control things that we can't, we end up spinning our wheels and we stress ourselves out. So it's really important to focus on what you can control, which at the end of the day is pretty much just our actions and our reactions to different situations. So it's really important to lean into that and remember that throughout your journey. When a conflict arises, it's important to try to use I statements to deal with that conflict. And this can work in a number of different relationship moments too. But instead of you statements that could feel like you're kind of accusing that person of something, talk about how you feel instead. For example, instead of saying, you always bring candy into the house, you could say something instead like, when I'm trying to eat healthier, I have a really hard time resisting sweets. So I find that when they're at home, it can feel frustrating. How can we work this out? And then it kind of shifts the dynamic, right? So it's you and this person against the problem rather than you against the person. So it's the two of you aligned working towards the same goal, which is finding ways to support your weight loss efforts. One thing, kind of a script to think about these difficult conversations is, starting out by saying, hey, I have something I want to talk to you about. My fear is that you're going to react like blank. My fear is you're going to react and get frustrated or upset. the way I hope you react is supportive or kind or understanding. Here's what I need to tell you. So you're kind of setting them up, right? And letting them know, hey, I feel kind of anxious about having this conversation. I'm worried about how you're going to react. Don't want you to take it the wrong way, but this is important to me. So sometimes teeing up the conversation with what you're afraid of can be important too and be really helpful. As you work through challenges, it's also really important to avoid self-sabotage, which can be really easy to do as well. So the next time you find yourself kind of thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get to my goal, stop thinking about, stop actually and think about one small goal that you can work on right now, like drinking one extra glass of water today or going and prepping your lunch for tomorrow. The only way you're going to reach your ultimate goal is to conquer the little small ones one at a time. As we are kind of still kind of fresh into the year, I think it's really important to remember that, more effort and motivation doesn't help us reach our goals. Habits do. So we really have to focus on the habits that help us reach the goal, changing the behavior rather than constantly focusing on the end result. So we can wish for weight loss all day long, but until we change the habit and the behavior, we're not going to get there, right? So we want to try to not have those self-sabotaging thoughts that are going to derail that progress as well. So there's some strategies for success to think about here. One is to challenge your own thoughts. Okay, so question any negative statement that passes through your mind. See if you can poke holes in the negativity. For example, if you think, no matter how well I eat, the scale never moves, where's the proof? Right? Prove it to yourself that that is the case. You may realize that, hey, even though this scale didn't go down today, I've actually lost 8 pounds from where I started. So you may be able to prove your negativity wrong if you kind of dig a little bit deeper. Another really important strategy to remember to help you feel successful is this is not about perfection. Okay, let's face it, nobody's perfect. So expecting that of yourself is setting yourself up for failure from the start. So instead of punishing yourself for not making weight loss progress this week, for example, reflect on the positive things that you have done so far and kind of explore that without judgment. If there are things that you could work on moving forward also. So, for example, if you're like, oh my gosh, I said I was going to go to the gym 5 days this week and I didn't do that, I might as well not go at all. But did you go 3 days? Because 3 days is better than 0, right? Did you go 1 day? That's also better than 0. So find the positivity and within that, set realistic expectations. Don't set a goal that you're not able to achieve in this phase of your life because that's only going to make you feel worse. Okay. Another really important strategy is to try to get rid of this all or nothing thinking, which I know is really easy trap to fall into. I do it too. But just because you had one cookie doesn't mean you failed. It also doesn't mean you should eat the rest of the box, right? And then try to start again tomorrow. Enjoying food that you love, food that nourishes your soul is okay, even after surgery. But yes, they're not as nutritious as some other options, and we need to enjoy them in moderation. But part of sustainable kind of patterns is having that balance and finding the balance that works for you. I tell people all day long, it's so important that we recognize that food, yes, nourishes our body, but it also nourishes our soul. And it's totally okay to eat something just because you like it. But how much, how often, how do we incorporate that? How do we gain skills that allow us to be in control of the food decision rather than feeling like the food is controlling you? Right? That's the sustainability that we want to try to find. And that takes time and a lot of practice. Another strategy to stay successful is to play out the plan, think it through. The more detail you think of and kind of plan out ahead of time, the more in control you tend to be. If you're going to an event, for example, think about where you're going to be, what you're going to eat, how you're going to keep your hands busy so you're not grazing on the snack table. Who are you going to be with? Is your best cheerleader there? Tell them your goals before you go. Be like, hey, not going to get seconds. Hey, let's share a dessert. Let's have a couple bites and push the plate away and do it together. That can be helpful too. Visualize yourself going up to that bar and ordering water instead of a second cocktail or glass of wine. Imagine that you're going to stand in the atmosphere of the event or the party or the wedding or whatever and have conversation instead of focus on the food. If you plan that out in your head, you're more likely to follow through. Just like prepping your meals for a week or looking at the restaurant menu before you go. If you plan ahead, more likely to follow through. And then it's so important that we ditch the excuses. We are so good at making excuses for ourselves and finding a way to rationalize our choices, but excuses are going to get us nowhere really fast. So when those excuses start flooding your brain, you need to start counting backwards from 5. By the time you get to number 1, start thinking in the direction you want to be going, like getting up off the couch and putting your shoes on, right? There's a lot of things in life we do because we know we should and not because we want to. So if we wait until we want to do these new healthy habits, we're going to be waiting forever. So what's important is that we find the reason why this is important to us and try to ask yourself the question, my decision right now can get me further away or closer to my goal? And which decision am I going to make right now? It's a really important question to ask yourself in those moments. There are a lot of kind of self-sabotaging thoughts that can fester up throughout a weight loss journey. And there's kind of some common threads that I hear often. And I think it's really important that we address those and try to kind of change that internal negative Nancy voice that we have in the back of our head. So one of the ones that I hear a lot is, I hate my body, I'm always going to be like this, or some type of kind of body image related comment or thought, okay? Yes, you have the power to change your body, but it all starts with mindset and that positive self-talk. Okay, so it's really important that you kind of notice those negative thoughts like, oh, my arms are so flabby, or, whatever it may be, and try to think of how a loved one would respond instead. Confront that negative voice and reframe that statement. Force yourself to think about all of the wonderful things having arms allows you to do, like giving hugs, painting, driving, cooking, cuddling your dog or cat or kiddos. Arms are amazing no matter what size or shape they are. Converting the negative to a positive thought is going to help you feel more motivated to move forward. Another self-sabotaging thought I hear all the time is, I can't stop eating junk food. I just can't do it. I'm addicted, whatever the exact phrasing may be. Keep in mind that, quote, junk foods are actually designed by scientists and psychologists that understand how the mind works to taste good and be addictive. It activates kind of the feel-good feelings in our brain that reinforces the behavior and the choice to eat that food. That's why it feels like you can't just have one, right? So when you have a craving, pause for a second and think about why you're having that craving in the moment. Is it actually related to physical hunger, or is there some type of emotional response happening instead? If you're kind of looking for a release, a break, a way to cope with something you don't want to be feeling or doing or thinking, then you need to find an alternative behavior that can maybe achieve the same effect. Maybe you just need half an hour to yourself to watch TV or listen to music or read a book. take a nap, stand outside, go for a walk, cuddle the dog, talk to a friend. We don't always need to eat to satisfy that emotion. Like we just said, food kind of triggers that happy center of our brain. So when we are feeling something negative or feeling stressed, bored, we're looking for a pick me up, really, really easy to turn to food for that. Okay, so we want to find good coping mechanisms that are not food related for those not so great feelings that we may have. And then another one is I just need a cheat day. I just need one day to let loose. If you find yourself saying that or thinking it, it's really important that you take a moment to kind of reflect on whether you're actually doing behavior change that's effective and sustainable long term. One of the red flags that I kind of listen for in a patient visit is, well, when I stick to XYZ, I can lose weight. Stop. Pause. If you hear yourself saying that, if you have to stick to a pattern of eating, it's not going to last. Okay, we need to take a step back, reevaluate, find some sustainability there because motivation is not going to last forever. So if you find yourself feeling the urge or the need to have a cheat day, you have to really check in and see if you're setting up realistic expectations for yourself, like never eating ice cream again. Probably not, right? It may help to kind of have a plan that includes certain foods that are special to you in a small portion, right? So they don't feel so like taboo. And so you have an opportunity to practice mindfulness with those foods. When you eat them, try to slow down. Really, truly enjoy every bite. Even think to yourself inside, like, man, I'm really enjoying this. This is really, really good. And if at any point you feel guilty while you're eating it, maybe it's not worth it to you to eat it, right? Put it down. Wait till you're in the right headspace where you can fully enjoy it without any type of guilt attached. We should never, never, never attach guilt to our food choices, ever. Not at all. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. And I hear that all the time. When I stick to this, I need to have a cheat day. I let myself have this. Okay, maybe things aren't as realistic as they should be. And me, Maggie, whatever dietitian you may be working with can help you kind of navigate those thoughts as well. We also sometimes get sabotage from our loved ones and our support people. And again, it may not be intentional. So it's really important that we learn to speak up, right? Identify for yourself what is important to you and what your short and long-term goals are. Then have a conversation with your loved one where you can help them understand why those things are important to you. And don't be afraid to share the tough stuff, right? Talk to them about the challenges that you've faced, and it's only going to help them understand you better so that they can better support you. Okay. Sometimes we have to get a little creative with food, right? If your spouse or your loved one loves to cook, it could maybe become an insult when you start saying you can't eat the same meals as them anymore. But even though you've always enjoyed it, people show their love with food often. So we have to figure out how to navigate that. Let your partner, your family member, whoever it is, know how much you've appreciated the foods before, but maybe you can try new recipes together or find a way to modify a family favorite. Or if that's not an option, just choose a smaller portion. Okay. Going back to that mindfulness, right? It's important too to, maybe try new things together. Try to suggest an activity that you can do that doesn't revolve around food, like playing a game, going for a walk, working on a project around the house, going to the movies, even though the popcorn smell can be a bit tempting sometimes. Emphasize that you want to spend time with them so that they don't feel rejected, but then maybe suggest a healthier activity that is a better use of your time that's not always eating. I know that can be difficult, especially right now when it's been absolutely frigid, awful cold in Southern Illinois, and some of you may not have been able to get out and about and go for a walk with your friend or whatever. But trying to find a new activity or a hobby that you can do with a friend or family member can be really helpful as well. Think about your focus on health, right? So instead of telling your loved ones, like, hey, I'm trying to lose weight, tell them you're trying to get healthier. Do you want to improve your risk of diabetes, or you want to be able to be more active? Something like that. It could be easier to kind of talk to others about your goals from like the idea of better health rather than specifically weight loss. So if that's more comfortable for you, you can frame it in that way as well. Think about ideas together, how your family and friends can help support you. Having those ideas come from them instead of you might make them a little more likely to stick to it as well. Instead of, you telling them what to do, maybe work backwards and have them come up with the ideas. So that way it seems like their idea. Maybe they're more likely to stick it out. It can also be really helpful to work to create a supportive environment at home. Reflect on things at your house that might make it harder to stay on track. Talk to your family about those things. For example, it might be helpful to like keep tempting foods in one particular cabinet that you don't use, or in a drawer of the fridge so you can't see them, or something of that nature. I actually have a patient who has kind of a middle teenage child, loves snack foods. The child is trying to maintain or gain weight, so they got all the fun foods in their house, but that's very tempting for this patient. So the patient and their child have decided that certain snack foods that don't have to be in the fridge stay on a shelf in the child's room so they have access, but now the parent does not have to be tempted and seeing those things in the kitchen all the time. So work together to kind of figure out what that looks like for you if that's a challenge. And then I think it's really important that you're patient but persistent with your family members. It's a process, right? Just like how we can't change our behaviors overnight, neither can they. So it might take several conversations. There's going to be good days and not so good days, but hopefully over time you all can figure out a good system together so that you feel supported. Another place we may be sabotaged is work. If you feel comfortable, try telling your coworkers about how they can help support you through your weight loss journey. Be specific, maybe they might be happy to move those break room donuts somewhere else or stop bringing them entirely, and maybe we're bringing fruit trays instead of donuts or something of that nature. Try to keep healthy food accessible as well. Bring your own snacks to work so you're not tempted by other things or the vending machines if you have those nearby. Think about some high protein snacks you can keep around too to really squash your hunger. A good rule of thumb is about 10 grams of protein and pair that with a produce, and you've got some protein, you've got some fiber. That produce, the fruit or veggie, is going to give you some volume to help you feel full for a longer period of time compared to crackers or chips or pretzels or something like that. Try to make a healthy workspace too. Chances are somebody that you work with is probably also on some type of health or weight loss journey. Maybe you guys can buddy up. Set a standard to always bring a healthy snack to the potluck or to the office meeting instead of pastries. Organize a lunchtime walking group if that's something that can be arranged. Take calls standing up instead of sitting down together. I don't know. But work together to find some things that might work well for you guys. And another good thing as you're kind of thinking about creating this support system is practice your responses. Sometimes we find ourselves in social situations where we kind of feel like there's pressure to do something that doesn't really align with our goals. So, for example, if a coworker is, insisting you have birthday cake to celebrate another somebody's birthday party. I've had this happen to me. Oh, it's just one. You'll be fine. I'm like, no, I don't want it. Leave me alone. But we don't want to say that, right? So, or if a friend's like inviting you to happy hour when you are really trying to cut down on cocktails or something like that, think about how you will respond to those situations. Get comfortable saying no. If someone offers you something to eat or drink, pause. Think about if it's something that you really need right now. And if you decide you don't want it, turn it down. No is a complete sentence. That's all it takes. You don't have to be super apologetic and, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. No, I don't think so. No, thank you. Just be like, no, I'm good. No, thanks. Not on the menu today, or something like that. You don't have to make an excuse or give some big elaborate reason. Just say, no, I'm good, and stop it there. Shifting the focus is also really helpful. So while some people, do a really good job saying, no, thank you, if you're a recovering people pleaser like I am, they may not feel super comfortable always doing that. So instead, you may prefer to shift the focus away from you and onto something else. Thanks, but I'm really full with food right now. Did you try some? Did you like it? No, thank you. Looks delicious though. How did you make it? Can I get the recipe? Get them chatting, right? No, thanks. I'm good. Hey, how's that project going that you were working on, by the way? Or how's your dog? Or how's Louie? Or whatever. And shift that focus to something else. Remember that this is about your health, right? So sometimes friends and family members may try to encourage you to eat something by saying things like, but I love the way you look. You don't need to lose weight. You're fine. You're doing great. Without realizing that that's really not being supportive of your goals, right? They're trying to be helpful and encouraging, but it's not helping you. So one way to shift that focus away from weight or appearance is to emphasize, that the choices you're making are really for your health more than anything else. I really wish I could, but you know what? I'm on this plan. My doctor, my dietitian has me on for my health, and it's working really well. You can use us as a scapegoat, right? My doctor, my dietitian told me I can't eat that, but thank you. You can throw us under the bus. That's fine. Or you could say, sorry, that just really doesn't agree with me. That works too. So again, kind of shifting it over to your health instead if the no thank you isn't enough for some people. And maybe it can be helpful to make your own suggestion too. So rather than just saying no, is there an alternative? Like, thank you for inviting me out for drinks, but I already had a plan to go for a walk. Do you want to join me instead? I know how much you love to cook and, prepare meals. What if we come up with something together we can both enjoy, right? So making your own suggestions can be really, really helpful too. So as you go forward with your weight loss journey, or if you're maintaining, it's really important to remember that sabotage is always going to be knocking on our door. Life is always going to happen, right? There's no right time for anything. What is important is that we have the skills and the tools that we need to carry us forward and kind of manage those difficult situations, whether it's trying to get support in the way that you need and having those hard conversations with friends and family, if it's trying to steer clear of food pushers that we all probably have in our life somewhere. Using some of these skills and techniques can be really helpful so you feel supported by your family, but also have conversation ideas to also get the support that you need or avoid those difficult situations when maybe support isn't always there. All right, so I hope this has been helpful. If you all have questions or comments, definitely drop them in the comment section underneath the video. And be sure you check out the Facebook page. I think earlier this week, maybe just a couple days ago, The link for the YouTube channel should be there, so you can go find this video again. It will be uploaded there. And as a reminder, they only stay here on Facebook for a month now. So be sure you save, bookmark, pin that YouTube channel so you can go find these videos for next time. All right, you all, I hope you have a great evening, and I will see you next time. Have a good night.